I'm hyper aware of the fact that we've got to have a coalition, a broad Australia First coalition. And Australia First is the phrase I'd use to define the policy, because I don't think it's a left v right thing. I think it is very much our interests. The interests of the Australian people are not being kept in mind by Labor or Liberal or the Greens or the Nationals. It's just not. And I think this is a correction that our nation needs in the life cycle of our country's history. I think as a matter of fact, the projects you have spoken of in this podcast and in Sam Bamford's podcast make sense. And there's no reason why our government shouldn't be pursuing them, except if they're being bought off. That's my view.
That fuel and Bradfield and the bridging scheme, well, we're talking about $150 or $200 billion worth. Well, the tax revenue from that alone is $25 billion. I didn't mention this. I'm sorry to keep going sideways, but
It's all right.
Qatar exports the same amount of gas as Australia. 10 years ago, Qatar was getting 29,000 million for their gas. We were getting 623 million for our gas. Who the hell did that?
Yep.
Who the hell sold our gas for 6 cents and we got to buy it back at $16.60, which we can't? So the whole bloody nation is collapsing. I'm surprised that Victoria, then I thought, yeah, they're freezing to death because they can't afford to buy Australian gas either. Well, there's third biggest industrial centre in Australia has announced its closure. It's not that everyone knows that or it could happen or anything. They've announced its closure. You know what? The government is just throwing money at them to just keep them going till they get through the next election.
Yeah.
But,
So tell me, how do you coddle a bunch of people together? I mean, I'm sure you've been in the political game in the Parliament 51 years. How do you coddle a bunch of people with their own egos and values and whatever?
Well,
isn't it leadership at the end of the day? Like with Trump, they had a figure. With Nigel Farage in the UK, they have a figure they can get behind. Where's our Nigel? Where's our...
Well, I think you'll have to do with myself. That's pretty poor, second-rate version. And I wish I could name other people. I wish I could. I mean, I had a degree of loyalty to John Howard, and also I came out. I was when Joe went down. I was the National Party in Queensland. I don't think there's anyone else could make that claim. The bloke who took the leadership when beat Neil Turner, and Neil came back into the house. He's a clone of myself, right? And he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, Joe's right. Someone has to go to Canberra. We're not going to fix this bloody nation up unless we start in Canberra." And he said, "Well, it's obviously you. My father had died. He had a very big popularity, and I had a very big margin in my state electorate, Arthur Kennedy. And through rugby league, I knew half the bloody population in North Queensland. So he said, well, that's obviously you." And I said, "Well, I don't know if you noticed it here, Turner, but I happen to be running the show here." He said, "I have noticed that, actually."
If I can just take 20 seconds of your time, I apologise for interrupting this clip. If you'd like to support Turning Point Australia and what we're doing to help keep the lights on and keep the work going moving forward, please check out our website at tpaust.com.au. We've got a range of merchandise, whether it's the Make Australia Great Again hat, whether it's the other shirts that we have, or the educational maps that we have. Please go and support. If you don't want to buy any merch, that's fine. You can also support us by buying us a coffee and becoming a regular subscriber for as little as $4 a month. I'll let you guys get back to it. Thank you so much.
And I said, "Well, I can't leave unless you're prepared to take over here." And he said, "No, I want to be Premier." I decided then. Yeah, he said, "If I'm Premier in Queensland, of course, we've got the numbers and you become the federal leader." That thought has crossed my mind. With due modesty, I observed.
Yeah.
Well, we got beaten, and the bloke that beat Turner offered 18 portfolios. He promised 18 people that they'd get a portfolio. And there's Lawrence Borg.
Yeah.
Not a fan of Lawrence's.
Yeah.
Lawrence said, he promised me. Well, poor stupid you, eh? Poor stupid you.
Yeah.
Which you made a colossal enemy out of yourself and Turner. And you got nothing for it. You're a nobody backbencher. Well, he became a nobody premier. No, he didn't become premier at the time. Nobody leader of the opposition. But Bobby Borbidge, who I personally believed is a contemptible person in every respect, he became leader. And that was a demonstration of how the party had not only lost its way, but was going in the opposite direction. And through the vagaries of the political system, he became premier. So once the people of Queensland, these are people that voted for Jorgie Peterson for 50 years almost, when they saw what they had in Borbidge, they gave him the biggest hiding ever recorded in Queensland history. I was in a debate, I was on a panel with him in his decidement, and when I spoke, he would put his hand on my arm and say, "Oh, no, I've got to correct you there, right?" And the third time he did it, I said, "Do it once again, and I'll hit you so hard that your teeth will be all over this table. And I don't want you touching this."
Yeah.
And but I don't know what's wrong with the system. How we could go from a Neil Turner to that, I don't know.
Yeah.
And to give the sort of people that they were, the Neil Turners of this world, we're having a huge debate with the Liberal Party. We were national, they were Liberals, and we hated each other. And it was over at, they were building a $40 million heritage site. It wasn't heritage, it was something else. Absolutely stupid. Arts centre, right? We didn't know what arts were going in there, but anyway. And it wasn't paintings or anything like that. It was just arts. Anyway, 40 million. And I said, "You've got to be joking, Premier. I got fettlers carting water in buckets from the pub 200 metres so they can have a shower or a drink of water."
Yeah.
And this is outrageous when the Liberals were doing it. So, and Jorgie Peterson probably. Anyway, but there's a bloke Liberal behind me yelling out, "A bloody National Party. You wouldn't understand what culture means." What's a culture sound? And Turner leans around and grabbed him by the throat and pulled him out of his seat, the necktie, and pulled him out of his seat. He said, "We do so know what culture means. It means agriculture."
Thank you so much for watching the show. I hope you enjoyed this particular clip. If you want to support this show and keep the lights on and support everything we're doing at Turning Point Australia, please head to tpaust.com.au, where we've got hats, we've got shirts, we've got maps. And if you don't want to buy any merch, that's perfectly fine. If you want to just buy maybe a cup of coffee a month, for as little as $4 a month, you can help us get a small, long black to actually support the show and actually keep things going. Thank you guys so much for your support. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you later.